Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and I love just finding out everything about Pokemon, just all the little details, all the fun little lore, Pokedex entries, battle, pretty much since Pokemon means so much to me, I try to find out as much as I can about every aspect of Pokemon. And while running through the Pokedexes and talking with Ramos and friends, we started coming across some weird things, that there are some Pokemon that don't need a pre-evolution to exist. Which really got us thinking, so first let's go and look at these Pokemon and talk about them. So we have Baynet, a doll that becomes a Pokemon over a grudge formed from being junked. It seeks the child that disowned it. Well then, that means Baynet can become a Pokemon just off of pure spite because it gets thrown away as a doll. But what does Shuppet have to do with any of that? There's no Pokedex entry about Shuppet becoming a Pokemon that is like there's nothing about Shuppet becoming a Pokemon. It just feeds on malice and it likes hanging around people that are very upset. But on top of that, you know, it doesn't really have a direct relation to Baynet. That the way that it looks doesn't really relate too well. And overall, you know, it's just like, what does Shuppet have to do with it? There's no Shuppet turning into Baynet. Baynet exists first. It's like the chicken came first, and then Shuppet's kind of an afterthought, you know. It kind of could be a representation of like a Blanky or something, but overall, it's just a Pokemon that doesn't need to exist because Baynet can exist without it. Next up, we have Kadabra. Kadabra's Pokedex entry says, it happened one morning. A boy with extrasensory powers awoke to be transformed into a Kadabra. Well, this one isn't as crazy because, like, you can understand, like, you could see Abra existing already, that, you know, maybe there's some kind of evolutionary line there, but apparently people can just become Pokemon. There are a lot of theories about that, and for the most part, they do hold true depending on how you look at it. But overall, you know, you don't need Abras to make Alakazams. You just can just spontaneously have a Kadabra, and it's just one of those interesting things, like, how does this happen? What does this mean? Does this mean that, you know, Abra was a Pokemon that is created because people started turning into Kadabra? Does that mean people can turn to Abras as well? A lot of shenanigans going on. And on top of that, we also have Frostlass. Legends say in snowy regions, a woman that got lost on an icy mountain was reborn into Frostlass. So, we already know that Snorunt turns into Glalie, but I mean, what's the correlation between Snorunt and Frostlass? Frostlass can apparently just exist, and then Snorunt is just an offspring part of it, so that's kind of crazy. And then I was also looking into other Pokemon. Like, these are the only Pokedex entries of Pokemon that just suddenly become their evolved forms, you know? This is a thing that can happen. It can deal with people, it's directly affected by people, but for the most part, these Pokemon just kind of exist, and you don't really have to have a pre-evolution, which is weird. But next we have Pokemon like Electrode and Voltorb. Voltorb and Electrode, these Pokemon were discovered when Pokeballs were introduced, and there's supposedly some sort of connection, and that these Pokemon are not naturally found in nature. So it just creates a lot of weird things with these Pokemon, like, does that mean Electrode can be created without a Voltorb? That you can encounter Electrodes raw at the power plant as well, and that not necessarily encountering Voltorbs. So does that mean, you know, if you have enough energy or enough of the situation to create a Voltorb, Electrode can be created instead without needing an evolution? I was also thinking the same for Grimer and Muck. Grimer is just born from sludge. These Pokemon gather in polluted areas and increase their bacteria in their bodies. Well, they're born from sludge. So does that mean more hardened sludge, more sludge could just create a Muck instead of a Grimer? I'm thinking about that as well as Trubbish and Garbodor. It's kind of the same thing. Garbage bags and industrial waste cause a chemical reaction that creates a Pokemon. Life is created in the Pokemon world from just weird things happening, like sludge compounding, trash bags interacting with chemical waste, and then Pokeballs getting treated with energy or something. So at the same time, you know, can these Pokemon exist without their pre-evolutionary forms? That if there's enough trash, will it immediately become a Garbodor? Garbodor's Pokedex entry is that they absorb garbage and make it a part of their bodies. Well, what if they just already started off as a Garbodor? They can just continue to exist and grow as Garbodor. And it really makes you wonder, like, what are the point of some of these pre-evolutions, and what does it mean to Pokemon as a whole? Now, I'm trying to come up with some really cool theories about this, so expect a video like that maybe this week, hopefully later this week. And that's what I have for now, just kind of throwing it out there that there are Pokemon out there that don't need their pre-evolutions. No evolution required, they can just become their final form. Is it even their final form? Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, just a nice little trivia video, Pokedex entries and all that, and I hope you all have a nice day.